Another great plant I want to talk about is squash. An amazing, amazing food. Here's my squash in here, and really this is a bad view because I planted these just in this little section right here. You can see where they're planted, and from over there all the way down here. So what's that? About 20 feet. About a 20-foot section of squash plants. And they have spread. They've gone all the way across. You can't really see. They've gone through those weeds right there. And they've spread all around over here in this pathway. And all up over here. And they traveled all the way up. And have actually gotten way up there in that pathway. And they've gone all the way down there to the road. It's about 40 feet maybe. All the way down here to the road. And, well, they're almost to the road, I should say. They've come around here. There you can see some right through there. So they're amazing, amazing growers. So a lesson to learn from this is you probably don't want them in your regular vegetable garden, and I'm certainly not going to do it next year because this is out of control, crazy growth. But here's the thing. This is by far our best year growing squash. And you can say, well, maybe that's just because of our weird weather this year. It was really dry and then it was really wet, and the squash tended to be okay with that. Squash tend to grow really well anyway. We're growing 3 different kinds. We grew yellow crookneck. This one didn't get a very crooked neck, but it's a yummy squash nonetheless. And this one's kind of small. Most of them come out a little bigger than this. But anyway, it's done, so I picked it. And I grew a lot of butternut. That's what's coming up right here, coming out right here. This is not done. It'll turn yellow or kind of a cream color when it's done. And you can see a number of those growing. They get big. These things get as big as my arm, like as long as my arm. And this is, I'm not sure what variety this is. It's a little funny variety, so it might not be a typical butternut, but it's a butternut type squash, and they're delicious. We had some the other day. We've already, you can see I've got lots of little squash, and there's more blooms right there. Those will become squash. I don't know how many of these will make it before will actually become good squash before frost gets here. It is September. We'll probably get our first frost in October. We might get lucky enough to not frost until November, but most likely October. And we've already gotten over 100 pounds of squash, of these butternut squash out of here, and they're still going. It's amazing. This is, one of the things we talk about, or I like to talk about, is how do you grow staples? It's one thing to grow some lettuce and some greens, which are super great for you, and they're wonderful out of the garden, but your staples. This is a staple right here. That is an ancient staple for the Aztecs and the Incans in the Western Hemisphere, and these squash and corn and beans were the ancient staples of all these peoples, the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Incans, and of course all the other people that lived in the area that didn't get as famous. But these guys are still going. I also grew spaghetti squash, and most of that is died. This dried up vine right there, that was a spaghetti squash. And this may be, I'm not sure what that is. They've all gotten kind of intertwined and mixed together. But I picked most of the spaghetti squash. It didn't do quite as well, but it still did really well. We probably got 5 of those. So that's all right. But these butternuts have gone crazy. Looks like that one came off of the. Looks like this guy came off of the vine. So that one either just died or it just fell off. I think it was hanging over that little ledge right there, so it must have gotten pulled off by gravity. Anyway, I'll go pick that now. It looks ready anyway. And what happens here is these guys, look right here, can't see anything, right? But if I zoom on in, oh no, I am zoomed in. If I come down here, you see, oh my gosh, look at there. It's like an Easter egg hunt. I guess it's but more of a fall, a fall squash hunt. Here's what I was talking about earlier. The squash from way up there in our garden, you can't really tell how far that is on here, I don't think. You can't see the garden from here exactly. But if you look way up there, about 40 or 50 feet up there, is our garden. And here come our squash, just tearing down the hillside. It's kind of funny talking about a plant just tearing down a hillside, but it is. It comes right down the slope. It's been coming down the slope. They generally like to, they'll generally travel towards the sun, so this is traveling south right here. I have this whole garden area on the south face. And look at this. Not only is it growing down here, but it's making squash. So I'm totally happy for it to go down here. Obviously I don't get to mow this because the squash is in the way, but whatever, I'm happy not to mow. I can do that. And one thing you see is some of these leaves are dead or dying. We saw that, and you probably saw that up above with the other, when I showed the main squash plants. A lot of them have died, but the new growth is all good. Look at this. This is beautiful. Beautiful, healthy leaves. And that's what I tend to see, is that the newer growth has beautiful, healthy leaves, and the older growth is getting, I believe that's some kind of blight. I think it was Zev Friedman, a great permaculturist and teacher over at Earth Haven, said, you know, if society as we know it ends, or even our food system gets disrupted, this would be our first winter staple that you can grow, right? Because this can get you through a winter. These squash right here, they can grow in almost any soil. We grew them in some of our best garden soil this year, and they've just gone crazy. They loved it. But we've grown them in much poorer soil. They have not grown as well, but they still grew well. But amazing plant, and makes lots and lots of food. I mean, I don't know, I probably grew a dozen plants, and I've gotten at least 100 pounds, if not more, so far. And you can see from my videos that I've got lots more coming. So these are growing down to the road and making squash down here, even though I planted them about 40 feet up the hill. So you definitely want to give these vining squash, like the butternut here, lots of room to grow. And so next year, I don't want to plant them in my garden, my main garden area. My plan is to do a Three Sisters next year. I've done those before. If you're not familiar with Three Sisters, those are squash, beans, and corn planted together. And that's an old Native American trick. And there's more than Three Sisters, but that's the three main sisters. And we can talk about that whenever we go there. But thanks for watching.